Hi, and welcome to a special episode of Denim. I would like to thank my viewers for 5,000 subscribers. I wanted to share the thumbnails from the 501 Saga, including upcoming episodes. I try to tell the story in a mini version through the thumbnails. To me, they are little pieces of art. Some of them really came through and I'm proud of. Others were frustrating and have loose ends, but overall, I am thrilled with what they have become. Let's dive into it. At first, I was using a picture of the year tag as the thumbnails. If you look at some of these earlier ones, you can see the evolution from this Ramones catalog episode to the next week's triple pleat blouse. When I started the denim jacket series, this idea for the thumbnail template emerged. I wanted a background image, a colored layer, then elements, the LVC logo, the title, which includes the item, lot number, and the year, then someone wearing it, and a pair of jeans, historic persons, and pairs if possible. I use Affinity Designer, and it's been going okay. I'm curious to try out the Adobe stuff when I get the time to tweak out all about it. 1870, riveted duck pants. This one's about the miner. This is where the series starts. It's kind of the thumbnail for the playlist, and yes, I put myself in it. It's my series. But I also included Jacob Davis and an illustration from an era of a miner. You can see the pan and nugget as references to what we will talk about in the episode. This episode is for the miners who got suckered in to a dream and lost. I know it starts dreary, and don't expect a happy ending either. It will be bittersweet, and you'll catch a glimpse of it within this episode. 1873, this is the episode praising the rivet, the patent, the foundings. The thumbnail seems a little barren, no actual people, more celebrating the patent, the partnership. This is one of my first. I was still developing. But still a wonderful episode I'm very proud of. 1875, the oldest Precious Grimes. And this one is going to discuss the Amiskag Denim Company. Oldest pants, oldest vault jeans are 1879. The story of the Arcuate, the Amiskag. I put the crazy old miner in from the Blue Eyes mine. He is wearing Levi's for certain. Here's the Ohlone coat of arms as we talk about ancient California. The 1878 pantaloons, these are for the boss man. Dressing up with jeans. The successful San Francisco 49er era businesses. That is Mark Twain on the cover. He got his writing start in San Francisco. He could have met and partied with Mr. Strauss. They probably did. But there's other crazy businesses that came along to provide the miners of the gold rush. I tried to incorporate all the items I could. You see a turtle bread loaf, some chocolate, Wells Fargo, and an era drawing map of the bay. 1879, inside the Levi's Archives vault. These two ladies are pretty much the living royalty of this channel. The Levi's historian Tracy Panic, the current one, and her predecessor Lynn Downey. Tracy makes cool videos on the Levi's channel and writes short blogs. Lynn is writing the books I want to read the most. 1880s Nevada episode, Blue Gold. This one covers the modern day heroes rescuing historic denim from the mines and trash lots of America. Historic pairs are amazing. I hope to see them in museums. I'm content at the moment with my recreations, but if I could wear these or put them on my wall, I totally would. 1886, The Outlaws. There's the outlaws who might have worn denim, from Zorro to the first stagecoach robbery. Here is the Dalton gang in Levi's as they lay dead on the cover. A little wanted poster, ghost town background. This is a history lovers episode. Upon re-examination, I realized that Billy the Kid could have possibly been in this episode, but he'll have his own episode. 1889, Spring Bottom Pants. The Miners Who Made It Rich. Here's Alkali Ike from the 1970s poster as a miner. The illustration of a boss man wearing spring bottom pants. And the background is the Hearst Castle swimming pool. Another History Lovers episode. This one talks about Alkali Ike, but also about Jacob Davis being this master tailor. And you see this in a few other episodes. I even made a playlist all about that. 1890, the first 501 officially. Talks about the guarantee ticket, the 2-horse patch, the trademarks. Here's a model from an LVC catalog, but it is replicating an older pic of a California Indian wearing jeans and a Henley. This model kind of reminds me of Lou Diamond Phillips from Young Guns and Chavez y Chavez. A wonderful episode just exploring one of my just absolute favorite pairs. 1901, Double Pockets, the metropolis of San Francisco. This is also Alkali Ike, but the guy from the Deadwood tours. The story of the second rear pocket is really how jeans left the mines and became wear for city folk. We get to see the celebration of the city just before destroying it. I cover a few historic neighborhoods in San Francisco. Castro will be covered in 1960 episode, and I already covered Haight District in 1967 episode. 1906, Bunkhouse and the San Francisco earthquake fire. This is the darkest chapter. It tells the story of the 1906 fire that destroyed the city. And I just love the picture of the drunk guy and his miserable look wearing 501s. 1911, 201s. Budget denim factory workers. This is a jam-packed episode telling the stories of young Simon Davis, the Valencia factory, the women who made the jeans, and the triangle waist shirt fire. I hope you check it out. 1910s, kids coveralls. Simon Davis, 601s. This is another jam-packed episode telling the rise and fall of Simon Davis and his garments from the coveralls, the Freedom Alls, and the 601s. This has gotten the least views, but there's a lot to discover in there. It's not for kids or parents. I maybe need to rebrand it, but please give it a check out. 1915, Golden Handshake. This was an earlier episode, but we talk about Cone Mills, the history of the deal with Levi's. The guy on it is an LVC model, and you can see the Cone Mills factory in the background, the Golden Handshake icon that they worked up. 1917, First in Films, Copper Rivets on the Silver Screen. I wrote this and am collecting images for and video for it. Maybe it has already been finished by the time this episode is released. This was one of the deeply passionate episodes for me to make. I love film and jeans, and it all came together. That's Tom Mix wearing 501s in a film from 1920 on the cover. This is aesthetically one of my favorite thumbnails. The historic pair of the Homers on there. Like, you're walking into the film and you can almost see the projector light on it. Beautiful. 1922, Belt Loops and Rodeos. Another era pick. This one, an actor and rodeo champ. I put the cars in there, the background, because I thought it went with the time, but it's more about horses and the rodeo scene. And that's where belt loops and belt buckles came from in relation to this. You can see the belt loops as we talk about belt loops in there. 1927. This one's going to talk about redline selvage, the history of cotton, Milton Greenbaum and the Hosses. I'm hoping to put a picture of Sally Fox on the cover of here because I'm going to talk a lot about her. But otherwise, you can see there's a farmer and it's a piece of cotton. Exciting episode I am working on in research now. 1933, Depression and the NIRA tags. I had this thumbnail a little different. I had a guy walking on the line of the bridge, and I didn't want to make it seem that depressing. So I think this pic with the historical figure works. 1934, 401s. This one is going to talk about students. This is the story of students wearing jeans. Viola on the cover here, she may have been the first recorded person to wear jeans to college. Otherwise, the story is really about the 1950s, and I think this is one of the groups that almost every one of my viewers is in. Have all of you worn jeans to school? Is there anybody in my audience who went to school throughout where you couldn't? I could wear jeans in high school, but not ripped ones. I mean, I wore cutoffs in college. All right, 1937. We're entering into the golden era, the classic era. Golden Gate Bridge, red tab. These are symbols of Levi's in San Francisco, and that's what we're going to talk about, along with the concealed rivets, their inventor Milton Greenbaum, the flasher that promotes the rivets, the concealed rivets. This is going to be another absolutely epic episode. If you want to get in on the fit section, then send me a video. In fact, if you have fit sections for any of the videos that I don't have one, past or present, then send me and it will get into the fit video compilation. Back to 1937, look at this. Gary Cooper, as cool as can be. The opening of the Golden Gate Bridge in the background. I am proud of this thumbnail. So this episode will talk about the symbols, and I really dread the amount of LVC variations of these big ones. But I love doing the taxonomy of it and organizing it in my brain, even though I know that there's definitely an easier way of just getting these sent to me from Levi's, but no, can't do it like that. Have to do the hard work. 1942. This episode is going to focus on the Zoot Suit riots, Chicanos and sailors, the Haas family. This is the rarest pair of LVC, only 80 made. The Zoot Suit riots happened in 1942. It was a fight between two groups of denim wearers, Chicanos and sailors. I chose Benji Melendez as the Chicano wearing jeans because I like him, but I know the timing is all over the place. I think there will be more sailor talk in the Canberra Redux and more Chicano talk in the Ben Davis episode. Now, it's only about 30 odd years between 1942 and then the 70s when Benji Melendez would be wearing this older pair. But the Kurt Cobain ones are actually about like the same weird time jump going on. 1944, the S501s. This is going to be another sad episode in the saga. The darkest part of California's history, the internment camps of Manzanar. Here's some young boys. I love how their backs are turned. In this episode, we'll talk about denim hero Pat Morita. 1947. That's the Draper machine loom in the background. You can see the hot rods. You can see Bing Crosby. You can see the hot rod driver from the era wearing the jeans. I love when they get all those elements of the historic picture. It makes me feel so perfect with it. And this episode really kicks off the 50s. I know it's 47, but yeah, this is the beginning of the 50s, and it's going to run all the way till 1963 as far as being the 50s, as far as culture is concerned. And I'm really proud of this thumbnail. All the elements came together on this one. Historic to the era elements. I feel just patriotic looking at it. 1950s, the 701s. Marilyn Monroe on the cover. talking about women's jeans. This was such a perfect thumbnail to make. I mean, it really came together pretty quickly. The Dude Ranches, Marilyn Monroe, the patent picture redone, just perfect. 1953 501s. The Bikers. This is what I'm calling the Bikers pair. You can see there's a California highway in the background. Brando on the cover. And this one has a hidden gem. I also talk about the 1950 Centennial placard telling you how Levi's honors their histories. I only know one person who has this pair. They are so rare. And my hat's off to you, King Chung 501. 1954, 501Zs. We talk about greasers, we talk about zippers. I could have done longer on this episode. My opinion about zippers has changed since wearing heavyweight denim because it gets harder to button. But also just talking more about 1950s culture. I will have a few opportunities in some other series to really revisit 1950s culture. So that will happen in this series or on this channel. 1955 501s, the Beatniks. This is one of my favorite episodes to make. The most popular pair of jeans, my most popular 501 episode. I'm proud of the thumbnail, even though it is crowded. I love this picture of Neil Cassidy reaching out and touching the jeans. When I was 19, I embarked on my beatnik journey across the country. I felt and still agree with a lot of it. I think this moment is really the center of America. It's everything we're meant to be, coming to look at ourselves in the mirror, and then we can start to make this union more perfect, and the most perfect. That's San Francisco publisher City Lights Books in the background and bookstore. You see Howl, the banned book, in the lower side. You see the historic pair of jeans. You see the patch in the upper right side. We talk about how the patch went from leather to paper. 1960 501Zs. How can we do 45 episodes about San Francisco and not talk about the gay side of the city? 1960 was the year San Francisco had its first open gay bar. This one tells the story of the Castro, Marlena Dietrich, Sal Mineo. It's going to be a fun one, and I'm excited to work on it when I can. 1960s 503B. Boyhood. Is that too many boys? It was hard to cut any of them out, but I think I hit the limit of items in this thumbnail. Too many precious gems. I want to thank Rivethead for a lot of them. I also try using Found SF for a lot of my historic photos. I really hate that I can't give title credits to every picture. Back to this episode, we'll talk about Boyhood, which most of us learned to love jeans at this time. We loved jeans when we were about 7 to 10 years old, playing around, getting them dirty, and not caring. But they were somehow the pants that lasted. 1961 551Zs. This is going to focus on Bob Dylan as a singer-songwriter. The background is Gertie's Folk City, and there's Bob from Free Willin' album wearing his customized pair. This episode will kick off the music for the saga. There are at least 6 episodes, closer to maybe 10, that will focus heavily on music, and this is the first. 1963 501 episode, The Civil Rights and Denim. This was a find. Levi's won't confirm this, but I believe MLK was wearing 501s. That's the historic pair of the Inside Outs next to him, and that is a cool pair. This episode talks about civil rights movement, how denim really played a part in it, and how protesting really had its peak moment in America. It had a moment. It's not the same as it was. 1964 501s. This one's going to talk about how denim went to Japan. Amatora. This is collector Jiro Shirasu on the cover. He is definitely wearing a pair from before 64, as the picture is from the 1950s. 1966, Hippies. Neil Cassidy making his second appearance on the thumbnail list. Him, Alkali Ike, myself, I think those are the ones who reappear. None of these people are 100% in reality. They have one foot in legend. This is the first 501 thumbnail I made like this. The 1966 pair was my first LBC pair. I love how the unnamed hippie is reaching out for the jeans, just about to touch them. And if you notice, not many people are touching the jeans. They're reaching out for them, but they just can't. A few of them do. Neil Cassidy, Marilyn Monroe, Tracy Panic, Bruce Springsteen. I think the Sailor touches them. And I think there might be one other. But mostly they're just gazing on them in awe or reaching out for them. 1967 505s. This one's going to talk about the Stones and the electric music that took over in the 60s, the Brits. So many of my wonderful audience members are musicians, and I am honored by it. It's just fantastic. Musicians and tailors really touches me. This one will also talk about the best sellers. So 505s were the best-selling jeans until about 2000, and then I think the 541s took over. And it's been numbers that are just records that are just like meant to be shattered with the way that globalism has reached new audiences. And yes, that's Warhol on there, so we will talk a little bit about art. 1967 501s, The Summer of Love. Aesthetically, this one just didn't come together for me. It's kind of a continuation from 1966, more hippie stuff. They did wear a lot of jeans. The History of Haight-Ashbury neighborhood is in here. Summer of Love Music Festival. I talk about Peter Coyote and the Diggers, this anarchist poetic art scene. 1971 501s. This is the conversion from the big E to the small E. We talk about that. And that's a Navy SEAL on there. I am excited about this one. It's different from the rest of the era. I'm hoping to get a military guest on the channel to talk about this one, about the functionality of wearing denim in combat. So there's such this is a peace and love channel, but, we're still talking about good guys here, and excited to do this one. 1970s, the Orange Tab episode. I know a lot of you are anticipating this one. I'm dreading it because there's just so many items and I want to do it right. It's Billy Crystal wearing Orange Tab jeans from When Harry Met Sally. I'm still designing this one, I think. And this is an episode I fear making because of all the research. I want to talk about the rise of fast fashion. I want to talk about all of the items that Orange Tab has covered, from student jeans, bell bottoms, kids jeans, the fast fashion items, the car, golf bag. There's a yarmulke on there. I didn't buy that yarmulke and I really regret it. I hope to get a chance to buy it again. I like how he's saying, I'll take two jeans for the fast fashion. But also in the background, I wasn't sure if I wanted an orgy or a sweatshop. I left it this way for the moment. 1976 501s, Dazed and Confused. This one trips me out because it's about jeans that are 50 years old, and the movie I grabbed the image from is 30 years old. The recreation was longer ago from now than when it was portraying. That happens with the 1979 pair of jeans, post-hippie. Let's jump into the fantasy Fight the Disco. And it's a shorter, fun one for a pretty common pair. 1978, punk rock, Harvey Milk. That's Darby Crash from The Germs on the cover. I grew up in the same neighborhood as he did, and he was a local legend. We're going to talk about him wearing 501s, but also the rest of the punk scene. Then we'll also dip into Harvey Milk, because that happened about the same time, and he was actually honored by Levi's when he was alive, and also right after. 1979 501s. This one's going to focus on skaters. You can see Jay Adams, another local hero from where I grew up. And we're also going to talk about the death of the 501, when 501s weren't cool anymore, which is something that happened throughout starting in the late 60s, but then also going into, even now, it has had somewhat of a resurrection, but honestly, they're not the big sellers amongst a lot of people. I also see a logo from the Warriors movie, so I'll talk a little bit about that. There's a lot of great denim in that movie. 1983, this one is going to be about celebrity endorsements. It looks like Back to the Music, but it's got astronauts like Sally Field. It's got celebrities who did Levi's commercials. We got Bowie on the cover. He did a series of ads in 1983. I know about the Brad Pitt commercial, Stanley Tucci, Wayne from the Wonder Years. Who else do you know? 1984 501s. All right, this is essentially the finale episode. It ends with a bang, a triumph of good over evil. We talk about the Olympics, 1984 Olympics, the boss Bruce Springsteen, and how he sold more jeans than Kerouac. We step behind the red curtain to reveal how Levi's were this super commodity in the communist countries. But we also talk about a hidden group wearing 501s, a group I've been a part of, the homeless. I don't know if it will make it to the thumbnail, but it will be in the episode as it harkens back to the first episode, 1870s Duck, and the miners who lost. I told you, bittersweet. But the tale goes on past the LVC recreations. 1990s is going to get its own episode, talking about grunge, gangster rap, globalization, and how LVC is now self-aware. Also talk about some other denim companies that are growing. That's Kurt Cobain wearing those pairs that were up for auction, and Eazy-E on the side. Now we're into the 2000s. That is a Julian Casablancas wearing his Type 3, and yours truly wearing 501s back in college. And that's going to talk about the hipster music, how skinny jeans really took over at this time, American Apparel and their whole story. And, this is an episode that I was kind of there amongst all of this happening at the height of my youthfulness. Glad to be a part of it. And I've got one other episode planned, which brings us into the 2010s. That's Josh Lee on the cover. He is the student who back in 2011 wore a pair of, I believe it was nudies for 500 days straight without washing. And this kind of kicked off the you don't need to wash your jeans movement that Chick Berg, CEO of Levi's, was pioneering back after that. And then we talk about the denim fade contest. We talk about all the denim stores and recreation and revival denim, bringing everything up until now with it. At the moment, these 45 episodes complete the 501 saga. Then I hope to do the Lee recreation story. I hope to finish the saga by 2027. I've been at it for 3 years, and I am just over halfway. But who knows what will happen with LVC and what they have in store. I do really hope to finish the series. A series like Geography Now, it took 10 years to complete, do every country, and that's pretty inspiring, especially just finished. Thanks to the 5,000 of you who subscribed and to all my Patreon members. Copper Ribbon member Susanna, special thank you. I enjoy making these videos, and when I get the time, I want to sit back and watch them. I have a little bit. I do enjoy it. I hope to get better technically and make them more thoroughly enjoyable. This has been an episode I've been looking forward to making for a long time. Thanks for helping me get here. I'm Den. Love your thumbnails.